Our conversations continue with the candidates who want to lead the city of Charleston. Joining me right now is William Dudley Gregorie, Charleston City Councilman. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
We certainly appreciate your time. So, Mr. Gregorie, people in the city of Charleston have certainly lost property, they've lost time, and a lot of people describe losing patience with the problem of flooding in this city. What is your plan to relieve flooding?
Flooding is the #1 problem in our city. And what I will do is I will continue to work on our plan and continue to update it. But even more importantly, I will work on the flooding as we did on the Septima Clark Parkway flooding project, trying to pull together federal, state, and local dollars. It's problematic because there are very few dollars available at the federal level to come directly to a municipality. So what I will be doing is lobbying at the national level to try to get more dollars to come directly to a municipality instead of a pass-through at the state level, which oftentimes substantially slows things down. We've already invested $230 million, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So what we're going to have to do in the next 4 years is at least match that and go far beyond that, because our flooding is the #1 issue, at least for me.
Speaking of drivers and people trying to get around and the challenges that they face trying to drive around Charleston, what is your plan to ease some of the traffic concerns? What is your plan to deal with infrastructure issues?
Well, infrastructure is a problem in our city, especially as it relates to transportation. The one thing I'm not going to do is to tell people that I have a real funded plan. Because if I did, we would be implementing it. The relieving of traffic is a big problem in our city. However, again, it's going to take millions of dollars in working regionally. Secretary was here, the Secretary of Transportation was here about a week ago, and he was talking about the transportation needs nationally. And he alerted us to the fact that within the next 10 to 15 years, there will be 70 million people moving to the region. And by region, I mean South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia, and some other places. A large portion of that population will be moving to the low country. If we don't get in gear now to make sure that the infrastructure is in place with regard to transportation, we're going to have pure havoc on our roads. But there are some things that we can do now. We can do carpooling, we can do express lanes, we can do park and ride, we can do flex time for employers. And I think that that would ease the congestion somewhat. I mean, these are measures that other cities have been doing for years, but it's something that the Charleston metro area has not implemented. And I do think that those are the kinds of things that we can do now. The city does have a mobility plan and strategy, which was done by Gabe Klein. And portions of that can also be implemented now, especially if we deal with cycling and making sure that there are more bicycle racks and do more stripings on our roads to try to also make our city a more walkable city. And even more so, what we can do is try to build neighborhoods that are self-contained so that people will not need a car. They could live, work, and learn and entertain themselves in those neighborhoods. So what we need to do is to develop smarter and make sure that the neighborhoods that we develop are self-contained and that people would not use cars, but in many cases they'll be using their bicycle.
We have certainly seen disturbing video recently. It's made headlines of police officers and their interactions with citizens. What is your plan to improve relations between cops and the community?
Luckily, our city is a little ahead on that curve. We have something called the Illumination Project, which is being headed by Chief Mullen. And he has put together community leaders as well as law enforcement to come up with ideas on how we can have better relationships between our police officers and the citizenry. I like to call it establishing a healing police force, because I think it's time that there is healing between our police department and the citizens. I do think that what we're doing now will probably be a national model with this illumination project, because some of the issues that all cities face, we will be dealing with, particularly as it relates to issues of racial profiling, as it relates to stop and frisk, as it relates to that whole litany of items that a police officer can use to stop a person. So this project will look into all of those, and hopefully after that project is completed, we will come up with recommendations so that there will in fact be much better relationships between our police officers and our citizenry. But we also have to make sure that our police officers are fully equipped and that our citizens are fully engaged in this project.
For nearly 40 years, Mayor Joe Riley has led this city, and had he not decided to step down at this time, he may have probably been reelected.
Well,
Possibly.
yes.
What part of Mayor Riley's legacy will you continue, since the people of this community have elected him so many times and perhaps put a stamp of approval on some of the work that he started? What work would you continue?
Well, first of all, I would try to make sure that I have the kind of courage that Mayor Riley has to always move for the greater good. There are numerous projects on the books, even after Mayor Riley leaves, that will have to be completed. We have a senior center, West Ashley, that we have to do. We have to come up with a redevelopment plan for West Ashley and Citadel Mall. And of course, we have numerous drainage projects on the books. We also have Magnolia development. We have the West Edge development on the west part of the city. So there will be plenty to do, not just to complete Mayor Riley's vision, because I like to say that it's City Council and Mayor Riley's vision, because Council afforded the opportunity to make this happen. No man is an island, and I love Mayor Riley, but you also had a very, very strong City Council with a vision, and whoever becomes the next mayor has to have an established relationship with council members so that we can, in fact, complete the vision.
If you were not in the race to become the next mayor of Charleston, and the 5 candidates were still those vying for that position, who of those candidates would you vote for, and why?
At this point, none of them. And why I say that is just listening on the campaign trail to some of the things that have been said, it really lets me know that they're not ready to lead this city. When we do hocus pocus and snake oil salesman type promotions, I think it's inappropriate. I think it's dishonest. And if you're dishonest during the campaign, one can imagine how dishonest they would be as the next mayor. So at this point, no one. That's not to say that later on in the next 4 or 5 days, that wouldn't change. But right now, I clearly see me as the best candidate to lead our city forward, because I have this established relationship not only with City Council, but all department heads. I understand our programs and our budgets much better than any of them do. So I clearly do not support anyone at this time other than myself to be the next mayor of the city of Charleston.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, William Dudley Gregorie, and we certainly wish you the best.
Always. Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
All right.